Hey, this is my tutorial on how to make a thumbnail for YouTube using Photoshop CS6. And first step I'm doing right here is probably the most boring thing doing in Photoshop is just cutting images out. But the more you do it, the more renders you have, so in the end it's good and it looks good. So all you really need to do for this is take your pen tool and just zoom in and trace the entire outline of picture you want to put in. So in this case, I'm making a thumbnail for my finding an AKM video in DayZ. So I'm cutting out this AKM picture right here that I got off Google. So I'm speeding up the video right now so that you don't have to see me cutting it out for I think like 10 minutes. Um, so yeah, you can also do this in other programs like GIMP or GIMP. I don't know how people pronounce it, but because I remember I used to use that, and I could do things like this. I could cut things out, and yeah, pretty basic stuff. Also, if you didn't see at the very beginning, whenever you're making a thumbnail video, you're opening up a file. It wants to be 1280 by 720p. So make sure you save that preset whenever you're making them. So now I have my selection. Right click, make selection to have it. I'm gonna go in and cut out some of this extra stuff right here around the trigger and around the barrel. And then once I do that, I'll have the entire picture cut out. You can also use your lasso tool or your magic selection tool to get rid of these things easily. Once you do that, I'm going to save it as a PNG file so that I can use it again whenever I want. Okay, now I have this image here, which I screenshotted from my video. I'm going to go into Topaz Labs. I think this is clean. You don't have to do this, this is just a little more picture editing because I know this does cost money. This plugin, Google it if you want to know what it's about and if you want to buy it. But I'm just going to do a little HDR enhancement. You can do this all manually by just changing hue and playing around with curves and stuff like that. If you don't know how to do that, I'll post a tutorial in the future. It's not responding for some reason. Okay, and there we go. You can go into Topaz Labs again, change up a little bit so that it's not as grainy. This is Topaz Adjust 5. I'm just going to change it so that I reduce some of the noise. I'm just going to apply this here. Once I see if I can play around with it anymore. But yeah, it's a good plugin to have just because it really gives you so many options for editing your pictures and it can make lots of different effects. And I'll show you here. If you go into Topaz Clean, some of the effects you can do, cartoon, you can make it like painting, you can make it like a sketch, all in the presets right here. I'm going to give it kind of like a drawing, cartoony effect. And I'm just going to tweak the settings here to make it a little nicer. Okay, I'll let that load in. Um, I'm going to sharpen it a little bit as well, just to bring out the edges. And there we go. And now I'm just going to patch up the image so that it's not as blotchy and it looks more HD. Control T, I'll move that over there just for now. Now I'm going to do a little bit of changing the hue, changing contrast, brightness. Just give a little more shading effects for this picture and the 8K. So you really just need to play with things to see, to try and get the effect that you like. Okay. Let's see what else I can put in. It's always good to have a folder with all your stock files and your PNGs so you can just drag and drop onto your image. Okay. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut out this guy so I can put on individual effects, make them pop out of the image more. So I'll speed this even more up. You don't have to make it exact when you're cutting it out, just make sure it's kind of, it doesn't look linear, like you want to make as many passes as you can so that it looks like it's the actual shape. And then Control Alt and the mouse wheel to zoom in, and if you hold Control you can edit these paths. If you mess up, just Control Alt Z will undo. I'll go around this. If you move the circles you can change the curve of the line too. Like this, right click to make a selection, and then just Control J to make it its own layer. I'm going to save this as a PNG file after I patch this up a little bit, make it look a little more straight. Just using a brush tool, soft brush. And there we go, it looks a little better. Save this as a PNG. Now go into Topaz Labs again, or whatever you're using to change it. I'm just going to look through these preset effects. There we go. You can see how it pops out more. I'll even change the hue a little bit, just so you can see all of the shading in there. Now I'm going to add a little drop shadow. Okay. I'll even add some splatter brushes behind so you can see a little effect coming up. If you want to find brushes like this, just go to deviantart.com and just look through there. There's a bunch you can download. And I'll take the eraser and get rid of this so you only see it behind. So there you go, highlights it a little bit more. Alright. And now I'm going to add a little bit of glow around the AK so that that is highlighted even more. I'm going to move it a little bit. You see that outline behind because I put a, because the hue effect from before is like highlighted there, so if all you have to do is delete that and you'll be able to move the AK without seeing that little subtraction. I'm going to sharpen it a little bit more. And then I'm just going to take my lasso tool, make a little selection around this. Then right click, make the selection, and I'm going to go filter, sharpen, so that the AK pops. So you can see here. There you go. Now I'm going to add my text, and I'll name it, let's see, I need to make this bigger. I'll name it Daisy AKM Find and Guide. Make this the side of the screen. Just use Control T if you want to transform using this. There you go. Now I'll delete that hue so that I can move the AK. Like I said before, Control T. Tilt this a little bit. There we go. Now I'm going to make the text nice. To do that, just Control click on the layer to select it. Which I'm doing right now. I'm going to bring the texture over top of it. You can just Google any texture you want, and then Control click to make the selection, and then Control J, and it'll make a copy of the texture in just the selected area. Then you can merge together those two. Then you want to select it again, go to Select, Modify, Expand that by a few pixels, and it'll make a expanded version of your selection. Make a new layer, and then just go to your gradient tool, go over it, and it'll make this little outline so that it's a white outline. You can just merge those layers together and it's just one title. And I'm even going to change the glow of the AK to white just to match. Alright, thanks for watching. Check out my other videos for more tutorials and gameplay.